Hello again, I am Professor Sudhir Bisht and I teach business marketing to the MBA students of Delhi Technical Campus or DTC, which is a college of esteem of great reputation under Guru Gobind Singh IP University, New Delhi. This course of business marketing is taught to 4th semester students and we have already covered 2 units. You can find all the lectures pertaining to Unit 1 and Unit 2 on my YouTube video Dr. Sudhir Bisht under the playlist Business Marketing or B2B Marketing. In Unit 3, in today's lecture, we will cover 2 topics. The first is role of marketing communications in B2B markets, and second is managing promotion programs in B2B market. I hope you like the lecture. Before I proceed, I want to say that I have used 2 books to make this lecture. And the first book which I have considered is Business Marketing Text and Cases by Krishna K. Havaldar. It's a wonderful book and it is available on Amazon.in in soft copy, and you can also order the hard copy, and the book will be delivered at your doorstep by Amazon. It's a great book and I would like to thank Professor K.K. Havaldar for coming out with such a book. The other book which I have used is Business Marketing by Chris and Karen Hill. I have given a mention of both the books. So before I start, I want to place on record my gratitude to Professor K.K. Havaldar. Thank you. Before we proceed to discuss the promotion programs in B2B marketing, just a quick recap of consumer marketing versus business marketing. If you talk about the business markets, the customers are generally geographically concentrated. For example, if you go to Western UP and parts of Punjab, you will find several steel plants which use scrap steel. Okay, and business markets have relatively fewer buyers as compared to consumer markets. Consumer markets are geographically dispersed and they are mass markets. In terms of product characteristics, the business markets, the technical complexity of the business market is immense as compared to consumer markets. Also, the products are often customized in business markets, whereas in consumer markets the products are mostly standardized. If you take the service characteristics, business markets, they place extraordinarily high emphasis on timely delivery, and service and availability are important criteria, whereas in case of consumer markets, delivery, service and availability are somewhat important, but they are not as important as in the case of business markets. Continuing with consumer marketing versus business marketing, the buyer behavior in case of business marketing is that there is an involvement of various functional areas in both buyer and supplier firms, and purchase decisions are mainly based on rational performance basis, whereas in case of consumer marketing there is involvement of family members. The purchase decisions are mostly made on physiological or psychological needs. In the buyer behavior in business market is that technical expertise is required by the buying person, and interpersonal relationship between buyers and sellers needs to be very stable. This is not true in case of consumer marketing. There exists somewhat non-personal relationship between buyer and seller, and less technical expertise is required. If you take the channel characteristics of business marketing, there are more direct channels and as compared to indirect channels, and there are fewer channel levels, whereas in case of consumer marketing the channels are mostly indirect and there are multiple level of intermediaries. From the manufacturer, something may go to a godown of a company or a depot of a company. From depot it may go to the big distributor, from there it may go to a sub distributor, to the wholesaler, to the retailer, and then finally to the consumer. If you take the promotional characteristics of consumer market versus business market, in business market the emphasis is largely on personalized selling. In case of consumer marketing, emphasis on advertising. Price characteristics, the difference is that in business marketing the bidding is mostly competitive and the prices are negotiated. List prices are available only for standard products, whereas in case of consumer marketing things are normally sold at list price or maximum retail price, and then some stores offer discount on it. So these are the 7 broad differences between consumer market and business market. Let us also revisit the concept of a buying center in business market. As I said earlier in unit 2 also, the decision making unit in the business marketing, it is called the buying center. There are various roles in the buying center. Various roles are played by different people. Sometimes one person also plays more than one role. The first role is that of a user. User is the person which will actually use your product or your service. So if you are selling a machine which is used to transport, let us say, cylinders from one place to another place, it may be the worker of the forklift and you are the seller of the forklift. He is the user. So user is that department or those people who actually use your product or services. Of course, they play a critical role in selection of your product. Then there are buyers. Buyers are those people who actually procure the products. It could be the supply chain management manager or the head of procurement or anybody. Users can be the worker also and the worker's manager also, the shift in charge, the shift supervisor, the plant head. Okay, then there are influencers. Influencers are typically the senior management people who have some expertise. For example, if you are selling a forklift, then the use of the forklift is done by the shop floor people and the shop floor manager, but there could be a general manager to whom the shop floor manager reports, so he could play the role of an influencer. Deciders are normally the management of the company who will place an order for a capital expenditure or a high amount of or a high operating expenditure, high value operating expenditure. So deciders are the management. Then there are some gatekeepers. Gatekeepers are the people who can allow your entry or who can disallow your entry. They could be some influential group which may be actually a part of an informal group also. Maybe it is somebody from the audit, or maybe somebody who is who's not a part of the decider group, but who can play a key role in telling the decider group whether you should buy it or not. It could be the finance people who may say that the budget for that year has expired, and the procurement needs to go on to the next financial year. So these are different people, and for any marketer to succeed, that marketer must have a good understanding of the buying center of that business. Let us start the concept of marketing communication as business markets. So as the word market communication stands for, marketing communications is a management process through which an organization converses with its various audiences. So what is the aim? The aim of marketing communication is to influence the perception and understanding of the organization and its products and services. For what? For generating specific meanings and to influence the attitudinal and behavioral responses. So marketing communication aims at generating favorable attitude and behavioral response of the potential customer towards the product and service of the seller. So there are three main dimensions of marketing communication. It is called dialogue. Dialogue means it wants to initiate a dialogue, which is a two-way communication process, and it wants to establish a relationship between the buyer and the seller. And this is third dimension is it's a cognitive processing function. That means the seller while it communicates with the buyer, he also learns, and in the process he can change his messaging. Similarly, a buyer may remove any preconceived notions which he may have had about the product and service. An unfavorable disposition towards a product may be removed, and it may be replaced by a favorable attitude towards the product. So three main dimensions are dialogue, relationship, and cognitive processing. Marketing communication, it performs four fundamental roles. It is also called the DRIP framework. D stands for differentiate, R stands for reinforce, I stands for inform, and P stands for persuade. So marketing communication helps the buyer differentiate the organization from the rest other organizations, the products and services of the organization from the products and services of other organization. Marketing communication also tries to remind and reassure the present customers and the potential customers, as well as the customers who have moved away from the company. It tries to reinforce the imagery of the product and service, the positive imagery of the product and services of the organization in the minds of buyers. Of course, I, which stands for inform, like DRIP, D for differentiate, R for reinforce, I. One of the most vital functions, roles of marketing communication is to inform and educate all the stakeholders of the organization about issues and features and benefits which are of use to the stakeholders, whether they are internal stakeholders or they are external stakeholders. And of course, P is for persuade. The target audience is persuaded to think or act in a particular way. The particular way is, of course, a way which is favorable to the seller. So this is the DRIP framework, where D stands for differentiation, R stands for reinforcement, I stands for information, and P stands for persuasion. The DRIP framework of marketing communication. Continuing with the buying center and the motivations of various people in the buying center, which person wants to help you or it finds inclined towards your product and which person does not, it will depend on many factors. Gilliland and Johnson, they came out with a model which is in 1997, in which they introduced a concept of buy task involvement, BTI. BTI is the degree to which the individual member of the buying center, or it is also sometimes buying center is also called DMU, decision making unit. So the degree to which the individual member it feels personally involved in each purchase decision. And Gilliland and Johnston said that it depends upon 4 relevance factors. The first factor is personal. Personal, it refers to the personal goals or any ego related significance and the perceived personal consequences of the purchase decision. So if a member of the DMU or the decision making unit or the buying center feels that the decision has great personal consequence upon him, if he contributes to it, his contribution will be lauded by the management, and he may be singled out for praise or something like that. This is called a personal factor. The second relevant factor is called the situational factor. Situational factor refers to the importance of the decision to the individual and to the firm. The importance of the decision to the individual and to the firm. So higher this situational relationship, higher is the BTI. How is situational factor different than personal? Because personal factor, it relates to the personal goals or the ego related significance of perceived personal consequence, whereas situational factor, it responds to the importance of the decision to the firm and also to the person. So if it is if somebody is involved in a decision making unit that is buying a capital item which is of very high value, then that means that the situation relevance factor is very high. Third relevance factor is called opportunity to process. This means it refers to the level of distraction or the noise that might impede or that might prevent comprehension of the marketing message. So if the buyer has given a message, it is trying to convey a message about a product to the buying firm, to the decision making unit, and if that message is distracted, there is high level of noise and distraction, then it is highly possible that the opportunity to process this message is low, and hence it will be a kind of negative influence on the seller. So opportunity to process means opportunity to process must be high. There should be very little distraction and noise. This distraction and noise can come in the form of, you remember we studied about gatekeepers, those who can have a negative influence on your sale process. The fourth is the ability to process factor. Ability to process, it refers to the knowledge of the individual about the product under consideration. So if the message which you are giving, if you're giving a highly technical message, and the person in the decision making unit or the buying center has got the ability to process this, because he is equally qualified, he has got great technical expertise, then it is likely that he may pay more attention to your message. He would certainly give more attention to your marketing communication message, and your message, if you have packaged that message very well, it will deliver results for you. So these are the four relevance factors, and a person's involvement will depend upon these factors: personal factors, situational factors, opportunity to process, and ability to process of the member in the decision making unit or the buying center. As per Professor K.K. Havaldar, there are three main marketing communication strategies, and they are similar to the marketing communication strategies of consumer market. First is the push strategy. In the push strategy, the seller promotes a product to retailers, distributors, in order to force the product down into the distribution channel. In a pull strategy involves communicating with the end customer or consumer to attract them to the retailer, distributor, in order to purchase the product. And then there is a profile strategy. In the third component of an overall communication strategy is all about satisfying the need of the customer. Typically, if you see the diagram, the direction of all your the flow of goods and services are from, in case of pull strategy, it is from manufacturer to wholesaler, retailer, customer, but the communication flow is directly from manufacturer to the customer. In case of push strategy, the direction of flow is also same, from manufacturer to wholesaler or distributor, then retailer and customer, and the direction communication also is same. Whereas in case of profile strategy, the organization tries to satisfy the needs of all stakeholders. In this communication strategy, the communication of the company is aimed at distributors, retailers, regulators, customers, of course, financial markets, wholesalers, employees, local communities. So typically big business houses, big conglomerates, they don't use just one type of strategy, which is a pull strategy or a push strategy. Even in case of industrial products, they use a profile strategy in which they try to satisfy the needs of all stakeholders, which is customers first, of course, regulators, retailers, distributors, local communities, employees, wholesalers, financial markets. Mind you, we are talking of the communication strategy. So three strategies: push strategy, pull strategy, and profile strategy. There is something which is called the hierarchy of effects of communication. What is meant by hierarchy? Hierarchy, basically, it is a kind of staircase, a step. You take one step, then you take the second step, or the various stages in your mind, the mental process of an individual buyer. So hierarchy is inside the individual buyer's mind. Various stages through which the mind of the individual buyer goes through is called hierarchy. There are a couple of models which are proposed. One is the 5-stage model by Howard and Shate. The other is the 6-stage model proposed by Levitch and Steiner. I like the Levitch and Steiner model more. It says when a seller is trying to send a message to the buyer, if he is interested in perceiving or receiving the message, he may go from stage 1, which is awareness. So he was unaware about your product or service, and the way your product and services can make his life better, his business better. So first is he will become aware. So awareness is the first stage, and then he will try to gather more knowledge about it. He will try to gather more knowledge about it. If you are still able to make your messaging successful or interesting, after knowledge he may develop a liking for your product and services, and then he may compare it with the other product and services, and then he will have his preference to your product over other products, or he may drop your product over other products. After preference comes conviction. When a buyer is convinced that your product is the best product for him or her, then it leads to purchase. So these are the 6 stage model proposed by Levage and Steiner, which is called awareness, knowledge, liking, preference, conviction, and purchase. Can you relate it to the AIDA model of the consumer market? It is by and large the same. Various thinkers have their own interpretation of the mental process or stages, which is called the hierarchy of effects of communication. I like this model of Levage and Steiner: awareness, knowledge, liking, preference, conviction, and then purchase. In business communication, it is very important to understand that what is the value of the source of information. There are 2 sources of information. One is impersonal information source and the other is personal source. Impersonal information source, like I am talking of the source of information for the buyer. Impersonal information source for the buyer is advertising, sales literature, public relations. That means where the buyer does not have an interaction with the seller's employee or seller himself. In the initial stages of buying industrial products, it is possible that informal information sources like advertising, sales literature are more important in the earlier stage. However, in the concluding stage or in the later stage, personal sources like sales representatives, intermediary, opinion of friends and colleagues, or word of mouth, it is more important at the later stage. So one must know which source of information to use in a business communication process. In the initial stage, impersonal information, to be followed by personal sources. That is why it is said that when a sales visit is preceded by advertising of some form, it lends credibility to the visit of the sales personnel. So this is what I want to explain to you in terms of importance of information source. Second is source effect. What is source effect? Source effect measures the degree to which effectiveness of a message is raised by the reputation of a source. Source effect, once again, it measures the degree to which the effectiveness of a message is raised or obfuscated by the reputation of a source. So the credibility of the source is very important. Credibility of the source is very important. So if you have a sales representative who's considered highly credible, he is considered to be one who has excellent technical knowledge, and the industrial customers, they eat out of his hand if, because they think that this sales representative of yours is a paragon of virtues. He's got excellent knowledge, his behavior is impeccable, and the buyers or the customers think that he will do something which will favor them or benefit them. So the source effect in case of this sales representative is very high. So this is meant by source effect. How does one develop the business communication program? Professor Havaldar has suggested 7 steps. First is the determination of communication objectives. Determination. First you determine what is the communication objective. Is your objective just to make unaware people aware of your product and services? So what exactly is the objective of the communication? What do you want to achieve at the end of the day? The second is identify the target audience. Who is your target audience? Whom do you want your message to be seen? Once you have decided who's your target audience, then you need to determine the promotional budget, because as a business communication and communication head, you need to have a budget for the year, and your budgets and your objective cannot be out of sync with the organization objective for a particular product or the service. So you need to determine the promotional budget and take management approval for it, and then you have to develop the message strategy. Message strategy means what is the message you want various people of the buying center to receive. Is your message directed at the decider, or is your message directed at the user group? With my experience in the industrial sales of lubricants to industrial customer, I have found that if the user group falls in love with your product, it is very difficult for anybody, for the decider group or the gatekeeper group or the influencer group, to stop your product. But it depends, varies from organization to organization. In some organization, the user groups are very important. In case of most professional organizations, they are. In some, they are not. Fifth step is you select the media. Which media you want to use? You want to use trade journals, or you want to use direct mail, or do you want to do telemarketing? Select the media. Then sixth is evaluate the promotions results. How do you evaluate promotion results? I will explain to you in the subsequent slides, but if you don't evaluate your promotions results, then you never know if the money you are spending on the promotion program, is it worth it or not. The final step when you develop the business communication program, perhaps the most important, is integrate the market communication. All wings, all arms of marketing communication must be in sync with one another and with the overall organizational objective. So 7 steps for developing business communication program, and we shall take each one of them in detail in the next slides. Let's discuss the first step, which is determining the communication objective. What your objective could be to convert the potential buyer from the stage of unawareness to buying action. This could be your objective. Actually, this is the objective. Everybody wants that their communication should result in buying action, but it's not like that. It depends upon a couple of factors. Number one is, what is the awareness level of your product or service? If you are a new entrant and you are an Indian company, and the business in which you are moving or you have moved is dominated by big multinational companies which have got deep pockets, okay, so what do? First is, suppose you are in the business of construction equipment. You are making excavators or dozers or rollers, earth moving equipments, but there are several players already there. There is JCB, there is Hitachi, there is Honda, and all these companies are big names. People are not aware of your company, about your products. So you will have your different communication objective. Your first objective in the initial stages will be to instill awareness about your product. Second is there an existing attitude towards your product? You may be a new product, but there has been an local company in the past which promised big and delivered little. So nobody wants to take the risk of patronizing or buying from a local company. So there could be an attitudinal issue in the mind of the buyer. So your communication objective will be different. Suppose you are already an established market player, and you want to retain your market share and even increase your market share. Then your communication objective will be not to create awareness, but your communication objective will be to reinforce your superiority over all the existing brands, or you would like to emphasize how your company can further benefit the customer. So communication objectives will depend upon the awareness level of your product, what is your position in the industry, the existing attitudes in the mind of the buyer, in the minds of the buyer, so on and so forth. So that is step 1. The step 2 is identifying the target audience. So first you have to identify the buying organization. You have already done the segmentation of the big market and you have already chosen the target market. So you need to identify the organization which you want to focus on, and you also then need to understand the attitude and the buying factors which are used by the buying center. Who are the people in the decision making units who are involved? What are their relevance factors, personal factors, situational factors, which we discussed in 3-4 slides back. We discussed all these issues. So you need to identify your target audience. Which industry are you focusing? In the industry, which customer are you focusing? What are the buying behavior? What is the buying behavior of the customer? Do they pay cash? Do they pay credit? What is it that which makes them go gaga about a product? Because based upon that only you will make your business communication program. So identifying the target audience, first of all the target organization, and within the target organization the target audience is very important. So let's go into the step 3, which is to determine the promotional budget. As I said, in organized companies, in big companies, professional companies, budget is supreme. You need to forecast your promotion budget in advance and you need to get the buy-in of the management, because you can't one day simply stand up and say I want to participate in this trade fair which is being organized in London. No management is going to approve. So you need promotional budget. So there are four methods of arriving at promotional budget. One is called the affordable method. Most companies use affordable method. To put it simply, what you know that you need to go for promotion, you know you need to devise a business communication program, but there is as much that your company can afford. Okay, so what your company can afford, if your company can afford a promotional budget, if the company has no promotion budget in the past, and if it is a 100 crore turnover company and the company says we can afford a promotion budget of only 1 crore, which is 1% of your total sale, you should be lucky to start with. Okay, so sometimes this is called affordable method. Second method is percentage of sales method. Percentage of sales method is in which a company decides that we will use X percentage of our revenue on turnover. So it is decided, if you want to increase your turnover, you will need certain amount of budget. If you want to increase your market share, which means you will need to increase your business communication program budget, you will use X plus certain percentage. And if you are in a recessionary situation, you can't afford X percentage of sales, you will use X minus certain percentage. So percentage of sales method. It's one of the most common methods in mid-sized companies, percentage of sales methods. Some people use percentage of profit method also, but that is not very reliable, because suppose the company is not bringing in profits and the company wants to go into profit, that means you will have to promote, and if you have no profits, then percentage of minus is minus, that means you will have no promotional programs. That's not possible. So percentage of sales method is a better way. It's a much saner way rather than saying percentage of profits method. Third is competitive parity methods. Big organizations use this. So if there is a big company which is making escalators, or let us say which is making industrial gases, and there are other competitors who are equally big and they are using X amount of money on business communication programs, then you will also use a similar amount of money. So how do you calculate what the customer is using or competitor is using? So competitor is organizing trade fairs, so you will also, a competitor is participating in trade fairs, so you will also include that. Yeah, it is possible the competitor is using one trade fair, you will use another trade fair which is as good, and something like that. So competitive parity method. So if there is a competitor which is advertising which is spending a lot of money in sales presentations or in demonstrations, and you would like to do the same. Yet another method is objective task method. In objective task method, this is used by companies which are not struggling with the money. So and it is one of the most rational method of determining the promotional budget. In this, you determine what is it which you want, what is the objective you want to achieve, and based upon that objective you build up a promotional plan. An example could be that if the company says it wants to set a target of 25% market share. So in the first step, the marketing goal is set. So if the goal is 25% market share, then the second step is to define the specific promotional goals. So increase product awareness. So you want 25% market share, so you need to increase your product awareness to 75% of potential customers must know about your product, and you must have 30% more sales leads over last year. Okay, so you are actually you are setting up objective, you are setting up marketing objective, you are defining specific promotional goals, then you are identifying the target segment to be reached. That you want to reach the purchasing executives, the production managers, or the design engineers of the customers. So you identify and then fourth step is to determine the promotional media to reach, whether you will advertise in trade journals or trade shows or direct mail, and then you will establish other promotional supports, that you will have product catalogs, you will have technical data sheets, colorful technical data sheets will be sent, not mailed, will be sent, and some promotional novelties are thought about. And then you evaluate the promotional plan. That is, if you say, okay, I will spend so much money on bringing out excellent technical data sheets and product catalogs, and then you must have a way to how will you measure the effectiveness of this, of what you are doing. How much will it really lead to a jump in sales leads? So you will calculate the cost of everything using a desktop computer, or using your cost accountant, he will calculate the cost of everything, and this is how you will estimate the promotional expenditure. So these are four methods: affordable methods, percentage of sales methods, competitive parity method, objective task method. The fourth step is to develop a media strategy. What do we mean by media strategy? How will your B2B campaign look like? Will it work on emotional appeal, or will it work on rational appeal? A few points to remember. Typical business buyers, they are fairly well informed and knowledgeable. Most of them, if you are selling an industrial product, be assured that most of the people who are in the buying center, they are experts. So if you are selling a generator, they will have mechanical engineers on the other side, and who will know one thing or the other about the generators. Okay, so because they are more knowledgeable and fairly well informed, your emphasis should be on customer benefits rather than product superior quality, because quality is nothing if it does not return in customer it does not result in superior customer satisfaction or benefits. I remember I sold once I approached a customer and I said, my engine oil meets this particular standard of American Petroleum Institute, and the customer turned around and said, it means nothing to me. You tell me, is the drain period the same, or the drain period goes up? You tell me, will it make my engine last longer? Will you do used oil analysis for me by drawing samples to tell me that how my engine is in better shape and there is lesser wear and tear because of your engine oil? Don't tell me what is the American Petroleum Institute standard the oil meets. I am not interested in this. So the emphasis should be on customer benefits rather than product superior quality. One more point is that market research is very important. We need to study the buying motives of key market segments. So you have, let us say you have a product which is used by all kinds of factories, small factories, big factories. They will have their buying motives of different market segments will be different. So based upon that, you will come out with a media strategy, and we will study more of this in the next slide. Okay, this is the first step, and it is called selecting the media. And some of the promotional tools which are used is advertising, sales promotion, public relation and publicity, direct marketing, personal selling. Like in case of industrial sales, personal selling is very important, as we will come to know in the next few slides. Advertising is also there. You can, whether you want to go for print media, or you want to go for general business publications, or you want to advertise in trade journals or industrial directories. Similarly, you want to promote your product and services through trade shows, exhibitions, catalogs, or you want to do some sales contest, you want to do some entertainment events for your customers. Okay. And then there's public relation and publicity. Public relation, like you want to make a charitable donation or adopt a village, community related programs to bolster the image of the company, and so that people have a feel good factor about you. Of course, direct marketing is about direct mail, telemarketing, internet and new age media. And then personal selling. And nowadays personal selling has become much changed. Nowadays there is something called pre-sales team. So pre-sales team, one does not start to go and make a presentation. The pre-sales team goes, meets with the key people, user department, try to find out what is the pain area of the company, what is it which makes them happy, which excites them, in which area can you step in. Then the pre-sales team discusses with the sales team, then they come out with a solution or a plan, and then the sales presentation is made. So selecting the media is the important step, and it's the fifth step in business communication program. Well, this is a very important slide. We're still discussing step number 5, which is selecting the media, and the source is Peter M. Banting and David L. Blancon, and I have taken it from the book by Professor Krishna Havaldar. There was a survey done of the business sellers, business marketers, as to what they thought is most effective promotional media. So the sellers, the successful sellers, they were asked to rate which promotional media is how effective. So index of effectiveness. So 100 marks were given to personal selling. So personal selling is the most important, most critical, most significant, most efficacious, effective promotional media, personal selling or sales call. Second is catalog and specific products, which gets a rank of 40, which gets a rating of 46. Direct mail gets 39. Advertising gets 38. So you see, advertising is 38. In consumer product, perhaps advertising will become number 1. Okay. So trade shows and exhibitions, their index of effectiveness is 35. Demonstration and sample 34. Publicity and public relation 31. Customer entertainment 26, and promotional novelties, which mean gifts, is at 24. So you will find that personal selling is the most effective of all the promotional media. But important point to understand is, who says this? These are the view of business marketers. These are not the views of the business users. These are the views of business marketers. In the next slide, I will show you the research which has been done. What do business buyers, what do they say is most effective? Which most effective of all the promotional media? So this is the slide in which the potential buyers, they are giving a media rating, usefulness rating in regard to the various media. So here you see sales per people, they are giving them usefulness rating of only 67%. As compared to that, the first rating is being given in terms of percentage to specialized business publication. It has got 76% rating. Trade shows 67%. Direct mail 56%. Business directories 46%. So we find that there is some difference between what the potential buyers think about various media or various promotional tools and what people in general, what the sellers think. But the difference is, but the difference is maybe because the survey has been done by two different people. They may have chosen two different industries. But the fact is that specialized business publication gets 76.4% rating, and it is a rating almost 8 percentage points over the rating which is given to the sales team, which means specialized business publications are considered very credible and authentic when the potential buyers take a decision of buying. The sixth step is evaluating the promotions results, and evaluation is not possible unless you have evaluated some of the parameters before you ran the business communication program. So in this, typically the evaluation task becomes easier if the data, for example on awareness, attitude and purchase, have been collected by conducting a marketing research study before the promotion plan is implemented, and the same study is done after the promotion plan is implemented. You ask people questions whether they are aware of the products. So can the respondents recall the promotional message, their previous attitude and current attitude, if they purchased any quantity after they were exposed to the communication program. So this is how you evaluate the promotions result. Because if you don't evaluate, somebody has said that the 50% of the money in advertising is lost. I do not know which 50%. So typical of promotion, whether the sales increase is due to promotion or it is a natural sales increase. If it is due to sales promotion, is it due to the selling efforts or is it due to advertising? So you have to evaluate the promotions result. So this is the sixth important step. I suggest that one should use an external agency and an independent agency. So the agency which is involved in formulating and executing a promotion plan cannot be asked to evaluate its own performance. So it has to be an external agency and an independent agency. The seventh step and the most important step is integration of marketing communication. So there are many disciplines or of marketing communication. There are variety of communication disciplines. For example, general advertising, sales promotion, public relation. When you combine all these disciplines to provide clarity, consistency and maximum communication impact. So IMC or integrated marketing communication is a coordination and integration of all marketing communication tools within the company into one seamless program, so that it impacts the consumers most and it uses minimal costs. So it impacts the consumer most in a positive way, and the cost is minimal cost. Integrating marketing mix and service mix elements as well as communication tools, they are now considered vital, because you cannot have for example advertising talking of how competitive your product is and your sales team talking to the potential customer about how technologically superior product is. You must toe the same line. Okay, so there has to be a seamless integration between advertising, sales promotion, direct selling, public relation. So this is what is meant by integration of marketing communication. Another important thing which I have shown in this slide here, and this slide, it's not my slide, the slide has been taken from Professor Havaldar's book. On the extreme left you see that senders of the messages are manufacturers or service providers or intermediaries, and you see all the elements of marketing product, price, place, people, processes, physical environment. Like there are 4 P's, and then for services 3 more P's are added. So for 4 P's are product, price, place and promotion or communication mix, and the other 3 P's are people, process, physical elements. What are the various promotion mix which I have shown in this slide? Advertising, sales promotion, personal selling, sponsorship, direct marketing, public relation, database marketing, everything. All of them are integrated into integrated marketing communication, so that the goal, the objective is same. The message is clear to the customer as well as to internal customer. Internal customer means all the employees and internal stakeholders. And then you see there is a loop going down, which is market research and other feedback that is taken from the customers and the users, and again the input is given to the sender of the communication, which is manufacturers, service providers, intermediaries, and then again based upon that the marketing and service mix elements are influenced. So this is a graphic view of integrated marketing communication. It really helps, because many times it has been seen that companies are spending heavily in different departments, in different arenas, and it is not coming up with the desired result. So what are the benefits of integrating the market communication? First is it helps the organization or the brand to consolidate its image. It helps develop a dialogue with the customer, because marketing is all about having a lasting relationship with your customer, lasting bond with your customer in a profitable manner. It is profitable to you. You are selling at a price which is more than the price of the product, cost of the product and all the expenses, and customer feels there is a value added. So integrated marketing helps that. It saves money and avoids duplication. Sometimes you may find that your number of customers are covered by your sales team. You may not need advertising at all. It's possible. See, companies like Xerox and HP, they have formed super councils by bringing together experts from advertising, PR, direct marketing, and employee communication expert. So they all bring them together in super councils to develop synergy. So in the marketing, communication has synergy. It helps you retain customers for life. Integrated marketing communication is known to help repeat purchase, and integrated marketing communication also gives timely reminder to buyer for action. If communication is not integrated, then the messages to the buyers are disjointed and haphazard, which will do more harm than any good. So integrating the marketing communication is the key. So this slide shows the relative importance of promotional tools in business markets and consumer markets. So on the left is consumer market, on the right is business market. As you see that, and the relative spending, as you see in consumer market, the spending is highest in advertising, and then comes sales promotion, then personal selling, then direct marketing, then publicity and PR. Whereas if you see in case of business market, the relative spending is highest is personal selling, second is direct marketing, third is sales promotion, fourth is advertising, and fifth is publicity and PR. So publicity and PR get least importance in both consumer markets and business market, but that's about all. Advertising is at number 4 in diminishing importance in case of business markets, but advertising is number 1 in consumer market. Sales promotion is number 3 in business market, and it is number 2 in consumer market. But see, personal selling is kind of non-existent. Personal selling is kind of non-existent. I can't say non-existent, but it is not very high. It is in the middle in the consumer markets. We are talking of the relative importance of the promotional tools, whereas in business market, personal selling is placed at the top position, at the premium. So this explains how B2B market or the business markets are different from consumer markets. Let us discuss the functions of business advertising and what are the various media used for business advertising. So first of all, the functions of business advertising is, first is to create awareness. That's the first one, from unawareness stage to awareness stage, with the ultimate aim of converting a potential into customer, right, and to form a lasting relationship which is profitable. Second is business advertising. You are able to reach the members of the buying center. In creating awareness, I would also like to tell you that the selection of the medium is very important. You cannot use a mass media like advertising on prime time for a highly specialized technical industrial product. It will create awareness, but most of the money, most of the dollars, most of the rupees that you spend will go waste, because not all people who are exposed to your advertisements are your buyers. So you have not targeted the intended viewership properly. So you need to create awareness by using advertising, by intelligently thinking where to place your advertising or advertisement. Advertisement helps you reach the buying center, the members of the buying center. As I said, there are many people in the buying center: the users, the deciders, the influencers, the gatekeepers, and the top management, and so on and so forth. One important function of business advertising is that it increases the sales efficiency and effectiveness. Studies prove that 23% growth in per sales call when personal selling is backed by advertising. This is very important. 23% growth in per sales call when personal selling is backed by advertising. So I have personally observed this when I was doing industrial selling, that when you go to a large factory or a large plant, and you are a company which may be an internationally renowned company, but your product is not so popular in India, you are introducing the product, people are skeptical about dealing with you. You may be wearing the best of jacket and tie, and you may be speaking impeccable English, but the fact is, people ask you, people say, we have not heard about your product. Not everybody has gone to the US to see that the product is available there. So if you advertise, it gives a kind of a sense of comfort to the decision making unit, DMI, or the buying center, that you are a credible company and your product has some standing. Okay, so it increases sales efficiency and effectiveness. Of course, it helps you generate sales leads also. So if you strategize, if you advertise on a Google search, let us say a industrial inverter, a battery inverter for which is used for industries. So if you advertise on a Google search engine, well, it will generate sales lead for you, and it also supports the distribution channels. A good brand, it helps fight recession even when the economy is not doing so well. And if your brand by way of advertising is well entrenched, well, you may be not making profits, but you will still survive a recession. So the key is what kind of a media you should use for business advertising. So there is something called horizontal publication. Like this cuts across various industries. For example, there is a magazine which I read, which is Business Manager, and this is a HR specific magazine, but it cuts across industries. Automotive industry people also read this, and chemical industry people also read this, telecommunication people also read this. So this is a horizontal publication which cuts across industries. And then there are some vertical publications which are popular in one particular type of industry. So when I say publications, I also mean the web publications. For example, there is a company called Tower Exchange, and they have a Tower Exchange website, and it is 100% devoted to telecom tower infrastructure companies. Okay, so if you advertise there, or if your product is aimed at telecom tower companies, you are rest assured that it will reach that right audience. So vertical publications is publications which are for the same industry, similar industry. like Tower Exchange example I gave, or suppose there is a journal which is for chemical industry, which is exclusively devoted to chemical industry. So people from chemical industry will read it. So if you are selling, let us say, some kind of an additive which enhances the efficacy of that chemical, then you can go for that vertical publication. Then there are industrial directories like Yellow Pages. Industrial directories are very popular media for business advertising. In the National Capital Region of Delhi, there are industrial directories for Noida, and then there are industrial directories for Manesar or Gurgaon. Advertising in such industrial directories like Yellow Pages is also a focused way of reaching the intended customer. So in this slide I have explained to you the functions of business advertising and the media which is to be used for business advertising. So what makes a business advertisement stand out? The rules are not so different from the consumer business advertising, except in the point 2 which I have mentioned here. The first step, of course, is common. The unique selling proposition of your product or your service must be reflected in the headline. Okay, so your distinctive features which will help the customer, it must be reflected, or your unique selling proposition must be reflected in the headline. The headline has to be an arresting headline which immediately attracts the attention. And the point number 2 is the copy or the write-up. The body copy of the advertisement must contain the benefits your product or service will give to the buyer. Very important. Here you can put in bit of technicalities also, but emphasis has to be all the time on the benefits that you will give to your customer. Okay, if there is a photograph in the advertisement, it's the best. A picture is worth 1,000 words. And in case of a business advertisement, at the bottom, this I'm largely talking about the print ad or the handout or the email ad. Okay, at the bottom you must maintain the contact details so that the prospective buyer or the potential buyer can contact you. So this is what makes a business advertisement stand out. Point number 2 is important, that the copy must describe benefits. You can write it in technical terms, but the emphasis should be on the benefit to the industrial user or to the customer. Let us now try to understand the role of sales promotion and public relations in business marketing. So first, sales promotion. Sales promotion, we have seen, as I have discussed in the previous slides, participating in trade shows, organizing sales contests, organizing entertainment events for the potential customer, writing promotional letters, participating in seminars or organizing seminars for the potential customers, demonstration. These are all sales promotion activities. The sales promotion activity, the objective is to gather leads and impress and reward customers. It also works to stimulate sales force. Once again, the objective is to gather leads and to impress and reward the existing customers, and very importantly, to stimulate sales force for greater efforts. I give you an example of a company which is dealing in industrial products, and it is a new industrial product which, let us say, it is a new machinery which will cut the stitching time of cotton garments by, let us say, 15 to 20%, and the value is high, the value of the machine is high. So if there is a apparel seminar which is attended by many apparel manufacturers, many clothing manufacturers, if in the seminar such a machinery is also displayed, and then there are people who give kind of a demonstration there, okay, so this can generate leads and it can create excitement towards that new machine. If you see, in India there are air shows which are organized, and all the companies which are into aviation defense sector, they come and participate. So you have various aircraft manufacturers and various ancillary companies which are a part of these which sell to these aircraft manufacturers. They also come and participate. So these are all kind of all varieties of sales promotion. I gave you in the last slide the example of tower exchange. Tower exchange is it's a company which is exclusively devoted to telecom tower infrastructure. Till the time I knew that company, they were dealing with the passive infrastructure. That means all the tower manufacturers, the steel manufacturers, and those who made telecommunication shelters, telecom towers shelters, and people who made power equipments or energy efficiency equipments which are used in telecom towers. They will all come to the trade show organized by Tower Exchange. So they will hold one in Delhi. They don't hold it in Delhi yet. They will hold one in Singapore for the Asian region, then in Dubai for the Middle East region. They will hold a big trade show in Johannesburg or Cape Town for the Africa region. For Americas, they will hold a trade show and some trade show for Europe. So anybody and everybody who's associated with supply of any equipment or service to the telecom towers, they will participate in such trade shows. It's a huge success. So this is the role of sales promotion: to gather lead, to impress and reward existing customers. Okay, then let's also discuss in this slide public relations. The objective of PR or public relation is to foster good relationship with all stakeholders, including public interest group. The image of the company must be that which inspires awe, respect, and not hostility. So PR department or PR companies, they also place newsworthy information into media for internal and external communications. Public relations also deal with legislation makers, people who make legislations for the countries, to influence them. If suppose you are a machine manufacturer and the import duty on your machine is very high and it makes it prohibitive for the users to import the machinery, you can make a case for yourself for reduction of the import duty. Okay, these are all public relation exercises. Many times we tend to confuse public relations with publicity. So publicity concerns presence in the media. Publicity is to create awareness of a brand. But sales promotion, it attracts attention. Okay, publicity may be one of the many tools. It may be one of the many tools used by a public relation practitioner, but it is just one of the things. Publicity gets headlines, whereas PR agencies, they create brands. Okay, so publicity is important, but public relation is something which is wider, which has got many activities, and publicity could be also a part of public relation. A PR company, it manages the brand reputation of a client. Okay, and at the same time it builds relationship with those who are affected by the brand. Public relation creates and manages an image which perseveres in the minds of the customer, in the minds of the stakeholders, even during the time of crisis. So sales promotion and public relation play immensely important role in business marketing. What is the role of direct marketing? First of all, we would like to classify direct marketing into two categories: direct mail and telemarketing. When I say telemarketing, I mean marketing through phone. And direct mail is, when you write emails or you send hard copies by courier to your potential customers. So direct mail is low cost. It is low cost, and there is great flexibility in choosing targets, and you can send a mail anytime. Timing, there is a flexibility in timing. These are the advantages. Plus there is no space constraint, especially when you are using direct mail as in direct email. But on the other side, sometimes sending too much direct mail can be spamming the customer. If the customer is, especially if the customer is not, the customer doesn't know you, and if the customer is not able to identify the mail. So a list of senders must be prepared very carefully by using direct mail, because it is low cost, it is virtually free of cost. It does not mean that one should not emphasize on the content of the email. The email content should be well defined. It must have a very good subject line, okay, and it must not be long, it must be to the point. If you must use attachments, then the attachments must not be very big. If you send large attachments, then it puts off the receiver. So these are the things you must keep in mind when you send direct mail. Then there is telemarketing. Telemarketing is marketing through phone. When you use telemarketing, it reduces the money you spend while making sales call. It is very helpful when you are taking routine orders with your old customers who do repeat purchase. But telemarketing of late has become a kind of a nuisance in India. A telemarketing must be, if you are making a telephone call, it must be preceded by a prior booking of that time of the customer. Maybe one can send a WhatsApp message explaining that you will call, take the buy-in from the customer. Otherwise, telemarketing tends to become very irritating for the customer. So nowadays, of course, telemarketing has assumed a significance in our lives after the global pandemic. People were not moving from one place to another, so various means of direct calls using Skype or using Google Chat or using Zoom calls, it was used. So telemarketing has tremendous scope. You can make a video call also, but one must respect the time of the customer, and it is better to send a text in advance or a mail in advance and then do a telemarketing. Telemarketing can help in case the customer is very well known to you, but it's not really very effective, especially when you are trying to make a call to a senior person in the buying center. They may get irritated by telemarketing. So it must be used, direct mail and telemarketing, they must be used with lot of discretion. How can we use the internet and the new age media to our benefit of reaching our intended customer, or to ensure that our business communication is received by the right person at the right time? So in today's world of internet and new age media, there is something called horizontal search. When we are looking into Yahoo, or we are typing something in Yahoo or Bing, and especially Google search engines, this is something called horizontal search, because the scope of Google or the other search engines is very wide. It cuts across all industries. You could find out everything from knowing where a tailor sits who can alter the trousers in a particular sector, in a particular lane in Delhi. That can also be found using Google search. Or you can also find out where are the distributors of Caterpillar products in North India. But horizontal search engines or horizontal websites, search websites, are general websites. On the other hand, in vertical search, the scope of search is narrowed. It is not so wide. For example, if you are searching for a hotel to stay in a particular town, then you can go to makemytrip.com, or you can go to book my ticket or any other website. Vertical search engines are specific to a particular industry. They have a very narrow scope, and because they have a very narrow scope, there is a greater likelihood that if you need to advertise your product to a very limited customer, you will use that kind of a search engine or that kind of a website to advertise your product. If there is a website which is devoted, let us say, for mechanical engineering, and you have a new calibration machine which will interest the mechanical engineers, then you can use this website which is devoted to the mechanical engineering to advertise your product. So horizontal search is for general items, and verticular search deals with items with a narrow scope. So similarly, we have concepts like display advertising and video advertising. You see, in various advertising, some advertisements crop up or they are there as banners. One can use display advertising also. On the other hand, one can use video advertising also. In case of video advertising, if you are going through a website, you will find a video advertising also playing side by side, but most of the time this advert or advertisement is muted unless you unmute it and you want to go to the video advertising. Video advertising typically is much more expensive than display advertising. So these are the various features available. There are websites which deal with horizontal search, websites which deal with vertical search. There are display advertising options which are available, which are there are video advertisements which are available in the internet. Also, there are various new things like LinkedIn and Facebook vehicles which are available for advertising. For example, LinkedIn of late has really come up very well as a search engine for people, and it has developed a great vertical for hiring people. It has become a very great HR site. It has also become a very good site by people who organize seminars and who organize convocations. So these are various options which have become available. In a study by McKinsey which covered 20,000 companies spanning 5 sectors, it reveals that there are two kind of media. One is a owned media and the other is a earned media. Owned media is a company channel or a website which is owned by that company, and earned media is the customer created channels like blogs, opinion forums and social networking sites. So if the presence of your company is there in the earned media means the website or the blog does not belong to you, but your company finds a favorable mention in such media. So this is your earned media. Owned media is the website of your company or your company's blog, which are different. So McKinsey found that owned media is now giving way to earned media, which means that the media on which you have little hold or zero control, how you feature in that media will determine the image of your company in the minds of people. So these are very new interesting things, and it is changing by the day. Internet and the new age media is an evolving thing for all the business marketers. No company can claim to have developed expertise on this, because this is changing rapidly. For example, people are increasingly using mobile phones rather than using the computers. So how do you ensure that your owned media, which is the website of your own company, how do you ensure that it has a very good telephone or very good phone website and a different kind of a website as it is seen on the desktop computer or on the laptop? So the phone version of your website must be different for mobile site, and it must be different for a desktop or a laptop. These are all interesting new developments in the new age media, and the new age media will increasingly find more and more favor with the business marketeers. Developing expertise, or if you cannot develop that expertise yourself, associating yourself with those professional companies who have mastered the internet and the new age media can open doors for your company.